story supposed to give me a love life? Or is it just supposed to attack me? The fun thing about being a person on the internet is that you get to see fan art and fan cams, and now you even get to see fan fiction. I will have the Wattpad fanfiction linked in my description below if you want to check it out, read it ahead of time, or read it along with me. It is 11 chapters in total, so I don't know if I'll be able to go through it all in one video. Maybe we'll split it into 2 parts. Canine Cyborg Boyfriend by Reading is Lit _ who probably had to get lit while writing this story. It's completed too. Don't you love it when you read a story that's already completed, so then you don't have to wait for the next chapter? You finally get the closure that you need. This fanfiction will have more closure than my own life. The townspeople of Stars Fall don't have an explanation for why odd events occur in their sleepy town. For the most part, they do their best to ignore it and lead normal lives filled with unlikely romance, early morning coffee runs, and chilly cook-off festivals. All that changes when a little dog named Barkley looks up to the heavens and wishes on a shooting star. His wish? To become a real man. A man worthy enough for a tattoo parlor owner, Cindy, whom he has fallen in love with. A newcomer named Ben arrives at town with a dog-like, loyal, carefree demeanor, the robotic muscle to fight an otherworldly tentacle monster, and eyes only for Cindy. This is rated mature, so I'm actually hoping that we get to see some smutty scenes in here. I noticed that the tags include diversity and multicultural, and I can't tell if this story is considered diverse because I'm the main character and I happen to be Asian, or if it's because the love interest is a canine cyborg. Wait, why is LGBT part of the tag? Isn't this a straight romance? Or am I gonna find out something about myself while reading this? In the sleepy town of Stars Fall, Barkley the dog scampered around the corner with a yellow daisy in his mouth. Barkley was a scrappy terrier mutt, not more than a foot tall. The thin, worn collar around his neck was the only clue that he wasn't a stray, but his tangled, muddied brown fur said otherwise. He didn't mind that he was small enough to fit in a handbag or that his owner forgot to feed him sometimes. He didn't mind that he had to dodge dog catchers or the raccoons that lived behind his owner's flower shop. All Barkley cared about was her, Cindy. She was leaning up against the dirty brick wall of Half Moon Tattoo Parlor's rear exit. She wore tattered hipster skinny jeans and a black leather jacket despite it being the dog days of summer. Underneath it all, her lean, taunt body decorated in beautiful swirls of ink. She had a lesbian haircut, shaved on one the side and straight down the other. But she definitely wasn't a lesbian. I mean, maybe by curious, fans of her work might speculate or perhaps wish. She definitely liked the D. The angles of her face accentuated with cat eyeliner, which bore the sharpest of wings, only surpassed by the sharpness of her tongue. Her eyes were dark, tortured even, but when she smiled, the sun rose. I already have so much to say. First of all, I think it is so cute that a little dog is just running around with a little daisy in his mouth. Oh my god, how has no one adopted him? Well, actually, it seems like he already has an owner, but his owner seems to be very neglectful. I hope that I can rescue Barkley somehow. This is actually one of my fantasies where sometimes I daydream about finding a stray dog or a neglected dog and I take in and rescue them and we end up having this powerful connection and I realize I can't give him up for adoption and he becomes my forever dog instead. I've stayed up watching videos on the Dodo where there's so many stories of people just finding these stray dogs and having these tearjerker stories where they find them and adopt them, and I want that to be my life. I would absolutely adopt Barkley. He sounds so cute. I think the physical description of myself is interesting because I actually don't own any jeans. All I wear now are just booty shorts or leggings. Actually, that's not even true. I just wear pajamas all the time now. But if I were to go out, it would either be leggings or shorts. Apparently, my body is decorated in beautiful swirls of ink, and this gives me Rhysand vibes because that's literally how Sarah J. Maas describes the tattoos that Feyre and Rhysand has. So I don't know about that. I only have one tattoo, and it's this little dainty one right here. Oh my god, this could be like the flower that Barkley gives to me. I'm already seeing the connections. This paragraph is true. I'm definitely not a lesbian. I definitely like the D, but I don't know what I would label myself as. I used to label myself as straight, but now I've decided that I despise straight culture. I don't really see the point in labeling myself because I don't even think I'll date anyone. Unless I meet Barkley, then I'll date him, but that's about it. I like that my eyes are tortured because that's probably true. Cindy looked up from mindlessly scrolling through Twitter on her phone. The frowning corners of her mouth perked upwards at the sight of her flower-toting shadow. I brought you chicken today, bud. She pulled a bag of leftovers from last night's failed HelloFresh dinner. The way I actually have been cooking HelloFresh, and I actually did fail cooking one of my last meals, it had become a routine of sorts. She'd take her smoke break, not that she smoked, but her employees didn't know that, and bring Barkley her leftovers. Sometimes she just needed a breather, a break, a place to hide from all the stress that came with owning the most popular tattoo parlor in town. So she'd come out back and feed the dog from across the street who always brought a different flower to her. Wait a minute, so this dog brings a different flower every day? This dog is a fucking genius. This is basically a video on the dodo. Barkley wolfed down the leftovers, leaving the yellow daisy at Cindy's feet. She knelt down and picked it up, twirling it in her fingers with a bittersweet smile. The only man to ever bring me flowers, she sighed. Barkley looked up at her, a sloppy, happy grin on his face. His tongue was flopped to one side of an open mouth, and he offered her a cautious tail wag. He could feel his tiny heart beating so hard in his chest. Every day he came to see that sun rise, to make her smile if he could. Every day he'd watch her, longing for the sound of her voice, the scent of perfume, the opening of that Tupperware box. That last part is so accurate because I was known for always bringing Tupperware to my workplace at my last job and at my current job back when our offices were still open. My workplace has a cafeteria, so our meals are covered, and I made my rounds across all the different rooms and just packed a whole bunch of food from all the different stations in my Tupperware, stored it in the employee refrigerator, and then brought it back home for dinner. And this is exactly what I would do if I had me a man dog named Barkley. I would give him my leftovers and we would share a meal together, and it would be a wonderful time. Like every day, he sulked on his way back to Budding Romance, the flower shop where he lived. He slipped in, unnoticed as usual, his tender heart heavy with pining for a love and life he'd never have. He thought perhaps Karen would cheer him up. There were rare times she did. Karen was rough around the edges. She pulled her long, often messy blonde hair up in a bun atop her head. Her makeup always looked as if it hadn't been washed from the night before. She smelled of cigarettes and cheap perfume. Everything about her was just a bit gaudy, just a bit much, but she had the capability to be warm and friendly. He skirted around her feet, hoping for a much-needed ear scritch or maybe even, dare he hope, a belly rub. But she was restocking empty tubs of Mums, rushing so she could close the shop for the night. Ugh, get out of here! She swatted at him as she was hurriedly moving up and down the aisle. Oh god, we have to deal with a Karen in the story. I already have to deal with plenty of Karens on BookTube. I don't need this shit. Karen wasn't so bad all the time. He had good memories of her, like the time she found him digging in her trash bin, or that other time she remembered to leave him some water before she closed the shop. Those were good times. Oh my god, Barkley, is the bar really that low? Let me love you. I will show you a good time. I mean, not that way. As a dog owner, I will give you the love and support that you need. If you are a man though, and a hot man, I mean, I'll show you another good time. Barkley sighed, dragging himself over to the storefront window and hopping up on the ledge. The short mutt pressed his cold nose to the glass and looked up at the darkening sky. Oh, how hard he wished, closing his eyes. I want to be more than a dog that brings her flowers. I want to be a man. No, I want to be more than a man. I want to be everything she deserves. He spent his long nights gazing up at the skies, just waiting and hoping to catch a falling star. Little did he know that tonight he would. Chapter 2. Barkley jolted awake like he'd been struck by lightning. The sun was peering through the windows of the flower shop, and things were not normal. Not normal at all. He had hands. He jumped, standing up on 2 feet and spinning around. He had feet. He had legs. His eyes focused on the window to see 2 old ladies pointing and laughing at him. He looked down. He was naked. He tried to run, but it just looked comical. He rushed to the counter. Its backsplash was a horizontal mirror. Barkley leaned against the countertop, shaking as he put his hands to his face. The mirror revealed a new face. His jaw was chiseled with dark stubble. His hair was tight, textured golden curls, and his eyes were burnt umber. His new body with tawny skin and bulging muscles which flexed in the reflection. Those eyes scanned his new body, tight and muscular, with arms meant for holding the soft, non-existent curves of a certain woman. It's true, I don't have curves. So you know how some people, they have boobs, but they don't have a butt, so they look like a P? I don't have a boobs or a butt, so I just look like an L. Like an L, like this. It's just a stick. A chest meant to rest a head on. A foot-long dick meant for wrecking that pussy. Now we know why the story is marked as mature. Now the question is, are we gonna see this foot-long dick? Am I gonna see my own pussy get railed in this fanfiction? I can only hope. He knew there was something about him that wasn't just a man. He felt his blood pumping, but he also felt circuits, megabytes, cogs, levers. He was more than a man. He was everything a tattoo artist and Twitter extraordinaire deserved. He was a dog turned cyborg boyfriend. Wait a minute. So he's being made out of cogs and levers. I can kind of picture that. But how can he be made out of megabytes? Megabytes is just data storage, like in a laptop. So how does that work? He scrambled out the bathroom, his giant dong flopping as he rushed out the back door. Dude, rough night? Coming into focus was a lanky 20-something guy dressed in crumpled, stained chef's whites. He had been slouching against the back of the neighboring Tex-Mex dinner, Tequila Mockingbird, hunched over a library book with a blackbird on the cover. Clothes, Barkley stuttered and stared. Give me clothes, he whined. The guy laughed, clapping the book shut and waving Barkley over. That bad a night, huh? Let me guess. A woman? He eyed Barkley. Or a man, I don't judge. Barkley just nodded, his eyes showing pure confusion. The cook sighed and shook his head. Wait here, he commanded and then disappeared back into the building. Barkley looked around nervously and whimpered. Finally, the cook came back with a pair of basketball gym shorts, a t-shirt, and some smelly old gray Converse in one hand, a bowl of cold spaghetti in the other. What's your name? The cook leaned back up against the wall. Barkley looked around quickly, trying to think of a human name. Ben. Ben had been a boy who would slip hot dogs through the school fence when Barkley would pass on the sidewalk. He loved Ben. He missed Ben. Dude, how old is Barkley? Like, he sounds like he's been around a while. Am I dating like a really old dude? Well, I'm Mateo. Good to meet you, Ben. I gotta get back to work. Keep it tight, Ben. Life as a human was amazing. The smells, the colors. Ben had walked around the town square at least a dozen times. He looked into all the shop windows. He chased pigeons. He even got so excited he started to bark at a stray cat before he realized everyone in the park was looking at him. He thought about his new friend Mateo, about all the smells in the park, about that damn cat. And then he thought of Cindy. Oh, Cindy. He sat up, whining nervously. It wasn't that he had forgotten about her. It was just that he had been so caught up in it all. And now that his mind turned to think of the object of his affection once more, he could feel his stomach turn. What if she didn't like him now that he wasn't a dog? What would he even say to her? That's a fair concern to have, because I am guaranteed to like you if you are a dog. If you are a man, though, I don't know. It's a bit harder for me to get over that. It's kind of like a deal breaker for me, but maybe I can learn to love him as a human. Ben glanced across the square to the old familiar flower shop. He knew one thing Cindy loved: flowers. Perhaps he could simply walk up to her and introduce himself. He pushed himself up off the ground and hightailed it to budding romance. Karen was behind counter and there was a long line at the counter, but Ben caught her eye. He was a tall drink of handsome wrapped in a layer of muscle. Oof, yet something seemed familiar about his warm amber eyes. Ben started to peruse the flower section, considering what Cindy might enjoy the most. He was lingering around the gerbera daisies when Karen brushed off one of her customers to come sauntering over to Ben. Your mom would love those, she smirked at him, putting one hand on her hip, causing her Pandora bracelet to jingle. Why was it so specific that she had a Pandora bracelet? She put an arm on his bicep, squeezing it and arching an eyebrow. These are my favorite. She bent down, showing off her round bottom in tight, hot pink crop pants as she plucked a pink lily from his water pot. Ben wrinkled his nose. The lily was too fragrant, too pink, too everything. It just wasn't Cindy. His eyes scanned the flowers once more until he found the right ones. These, he grinned, using his massive, shapely hand to clump together a dozen or so oversized sunflowers. They reminded him of her smile, just like the rising sun. Warm, friendly, bright. So Karen is demanding that Ben pays for the flowers, but he doesn't have any money and he doesn't have a job. And so she's flabbergasted and she offers to give him a job. So that was pretty easy for him to be employed. Like, in this economy, during COVID, he really got lucky there. He's approaching the tattoo parlor right now where I work. It was just the intricately wood-carved double doors of the tattoo parlor that stood between him and Cindy. The wood inlay was a Japanese serpent dragon eating its own tail and surrounded by alien constellations. I'm not Japanese, so I wonder why the door just happened to have like a Japanese serpent dragon there. This sounds very oriental, but maybe I'm like cashing in on that. Like, people see that I'm an Asian tattoo artist and they think, ooh, maybe I can get those tattoos of like Chinese or Japanese symbols to show how cultured and woke I am. But in actuality, I'm just tattooing whatever was on the menu of the Chinese takeout I got last night. Now is reparations. It was dark inside, designed with dreamy Vietnamese motifs, decorated with dark oak, deep indigos, velvety blacks, and gold accents. Wait, so on the outside it has Japanese motifs, but on the inside it has Vietnamese motifs? This is such like an Asian melting pot over here. We're covering all the different countries. There's another girl with brown hair that comes up to him, and she has a Filipino accent. Already we have a tattoo shop that looks Japanese on the outside, looks Vietnamese on the inside, and has Filipino employees. Asian readathon who? Cindy turned her piercing gaze to Ben, dubiously eyeing him up. Can I help you? I'm Ben. He shoved the flowers in Cindy's face and grinned so big, so bright. But Cindy winced and stepped back. She wasn't sure what to say and had to take a second to collect her thoughts. Look, I'm not going to bump you on the waiting list over some measly flowers, okay? There are some people who have been waiting 6 months for their appointments. She glared at him, crossing her arms. 6 months for an appointment? Damn, fanfiction Cindy is so talented. I can't even draw to save my life, so I would never own a tattoo parlor. But I can't believe that my business is thriving so much, especially during this pandemic, that there would still be a wait list for 6 months. Ben blinked at her, his shoulders wilting. No, I just thought you'd like these. He weakly held them up to her again. They're pretty, just like you. Both women were speechless for a minute before Cindy snatched the sunflowers from Ben's hands and dumped them in the trash can. No appointment bumping. Now get out of here before I remove you off the list, she said sternly. Ben frowned, his heart completely shattered into a million pieces. He wasn't sure what to do, but he wanted so badly to please Cindy. He silently obeyed, turning and sulking out the door. Dude, why am I so mean to him? He doesn't deserve that. So far, Cindy is a fucking bitch. Chapter 3 starts with Ben crouching behind the dumpster on a bed of broken down cardboard boxes because he still doesn't have a home. The other character who works at Tequila Mockingbird finds him and he offers Ben a place to stay. We're getting some more background information about the Tequila Mockingbird restaurant. It's owned by Mateo's boss named Domingo. Mateo just brought Ben to his studio apartment. Ben is going around the room sniffing every inch of the place because he is a dog. Mateo says that he will give him a month to stay here. Ben jumps in the air and gives Mateo a bear hug. Okay, at this point, Ben and Mateo are connecting together more than he is with me. So what the hell is going on? I thought that this was a fanfiction about me and my boyfriend. I thought this was a Cindy show. What are we doing seeing Ben and Mateo living together in a studio apartment, cramped together in a tiny space? Is this where the LGBT comes from? Am I still gonna be single by the end of this because I had to support the gays? That would probably happen in real life, so. It was the butt crack of dawn. The sky was just starting to turn light. Cindy had been up all night, probably writing secret furry fanfiction. Excuse me, I'm not the one writing furry fanfiction, okay? I am literally reading furry fanfiction right now. How about you put yourself up to a mirror first? She was taking a lap around a nearby park with a chocolate sprinkled donut from Made with Love, a cruelty-free coffee shop and bakery run by a married couple. First of all, I would not be running around a park because I haven't ran in like years. If I did run, it would probably be a block and I would just be panting very heavily for the rest of the time. However, I would definitely be eating a chocolate sprinkled donut. There was a commotion in the court. No, not the fairy court. It was 3 men. She recognized 2 of them. Mateo, Domingo's helper at the diner, and Patrick, the usual barista and co-owner of Made with Love. The 3rd man was also familiar. He was also the most eye-catching of the 3. She tilted her head and her jaw dropped. If this were a romantic comedy movie, Low Rider by War would start playing here. Time seemed to play in slow motion. Ben slowly pulled his shirt off to wipe the sweat off his face. She watched as his bronze-toned tummy was revealed, then his chest and his broad shoulders. There was only one word that came to her mind: sploosh. He tossed the shirt to the side, flashing a brilliant white smile and grabbing his water bottle. He took a quick drink, then, oh god, is he really going to do that? He closed his eyes and slowly poured the ice-cold water down his face. Cindy watched with bulging eyes as the water drizzled down his rippled abs. Then he slowly tossed his tightly coiled curls from side to side. It was the guy with the flowers from yesterday. Fuck! Hey Cindy, Mateo called out, waving at her. Double fuck! Her eyes widened and she realized she had just been caught ogling a group of basketball players, one in particular. Awkwardly, she turned and sprinted off. Mateo sighed and deflated as Cindy ran off. She must not have seen him. He had to admit, he had been carrying a torch for Cindy for years. She would often come into Tequila Mockingbird on Taco Tuesday or curry lunch specials, but he was horrible at striking up conversations with her. He'd often fall quiet or mumble too much. Oh, so Mateo is interested in this coochie as well. Interesting. This sounds like a love triangle about to happen. Mateo seems like a nice dude. He's like an actual human, so I feel like that's not gonna break any laws if I do get together with him. I'm actually not really that into tacos because I had like this Mexican food phase and it totally ruined me for Mexican food for the rest of my life because I just ate too much. But I'm still really into curry. So I would definitely be down for the curry lunch specials. And maybe he can have a little bit of taste of my curry. I don't know. We'll see. So far, both the guys are poor as fuck. So I don't think I have that great of a prospect. Maybe I could be a sugar mama to both of them. Ben is back at the shop. He stinks because he hasn't had a shower in a long time. So that's like another thing that we have in common. Plus 1 point for Ben. Finally takes a shower. He's back at the flower shop with Karen. And then I enter the shop. Cindy did a double take when she saw Ben stocking the flowers. Out of embarrassment that he might have seen her this morning, she rushed past him to the counter. Hi, can I help you? Karen smiled with her mouth, but not her eyes. She saw the change in Ben's body language when Cindy walked in, and she felt a flash of jealousy. This is giving me flashbacks to when all the Karens got mad at me for getting more subscribers than them. Ben basically symbolizes the subscribers that I somehow got a bunch of on YouTube, and Karen represents all the white people that got mad at me for growing so quickly. But listen, I didn't ask for subscribers, just like how I didn't ask for Ben to fall in love with me. But what can a girl do? Sometimes a chink will thrive during these chink virus times. Deal with it. Cindy looked around, dropping her voice. I know this is kind of weird, but I was wondering if your dog has been around lately. I think he's yours. I've seen him in the window sometimes. My dog? Karen made a face and thought about it. She had sort of just forgotten about him. Oh, Barkley. I don't think I've seen him the last few days, but he always turns up. Why? Well, I had just been seeing him a lot and I was worried something might have happened to him. Cindy bit her bottom lip. Cindy turned to go with a heavy sigh. When she reached for the door, Ben suddenly appeared beside her. Barkley? He asked softly. Cindy cringed with embarrassment. Yeah, she looked away, but Ben leaned in. Don't worry, I saw him last night. Probably just sneaking around, the silly rascal. He winked at Cindy, and she could feel a hot blush creeping up to her cheeks. Cool. Awkward pause. Look, I'm really sorry about yesterday. The flowers. I was kind of a bitch. It was just a stressful day. Yeah, you better be sorry, Cindy. Ben is talking to me. He's saying that he's new to town, and he's asking me if there are any places where he could buy new clothes. I offer to meet him after work, and I guess we're gonna go shopping together. Cloth and Pin was a hipster boutique. The clothes were overpriced and pretty basic, but Ben didn't care. Dude, I would never go to an overpriced boutique store. So we're going around the shop, we're making small conversation. I'm explaining to Ben what chili is. Wait, how does he not know what chili is? Why am I giving him overpriced jeans? This bitch does not have money. Am I gonna pay for that? Ben sheepishly stepped out. It was bad. He had never buttoned a shirt before. The shirt he was wearing has a pull-side print to it, and the buttons were so badly done it almost looked like a half shirt. He managed to figure out the button to corduroy pants, but the zipper, not so much. Cindy laughed out loud and then covered her mouth, giggling. She got up to help him, slowly unbuttoning his shirt. Only then did she realize how close they were. She was suddenly very aware of her pulse and her breathing, her fingers now deftly straightening the shirt to reveal his sexy bod. He just quietly watched her when she snuck a peek and then buttoned it back up. She turned Ben around in the mirror for them to look at each other. Side by side, they were a cute couple. Sure, he was massive and pretty dumb, but she kind of liked that. Then she caught his eyes in the mirror. They were softly watching her. No, he lovingly gazed at her. Ben suddenly blinked, catching a glimpse of the price tag. Cindy, he whispered, I can't afford this. I only have $76. She thought for a minute and then shrugged. Let's consider it my welcome to Stars fall gift. Cindy had big dick energy. I'm giving sugar mama vibes right now. I just bought this young man a whole new outfit from an expensive ass hipster store. You know what? That is a flex. Last month, I did buy my friend a new laptop and textbooks because she's going back to school and she couldn't afford it. So I was like, don't worry, boo. I got you. That's what it means to be a sugar mama for all your friends and for your furry love interests. Except I would do that for a friend I knew really well and for things that like actually mattered. In her case, you know, she's going back to school and that's really important to her. In this guy's case, I just met the fool and he doesn't really need clothes. I mean, does he? I seem to like him better without clothes. So why am I doing this to myself? Chapter 4 starts with Ben coming home with an armful of paper bags and a whole new wardrobe. Holy shit, I bought him a whole new wardrobe. What am I, Tan France from Queer Eye? Aw, Ben is really nervous when he's talking about me to Mateo. He says, no, it's someone new. She's perfect in every way. He let out a long drawn out sigh. I'm so afraid I'll mess it up. Dude, Mateo was slowly digging through the bags looking at the clothes. She obviously digs you. See all this shit? He's offering to help Ben repay me back somehow. Ooh, I wonder how he's gonna repay me back. With his body, perhaps? I don't know. This is 4 chapters already. Where's the smut? This was rated mature. Don't lead me down. Oh, okay. So he's helping Ben make food for me. This is a good choice. Hold on. This whole ass scene is just Mateo helping Ben cook food for him. Why is there more chemistry between Ben and Mateo than with me? Why are you doing this, Mateo? Ben asked suddenly. Why are you helping me? Yeah. Why is this shit feeling a little gay? way. I thought this was a straight fanfiction starring me. Please, will someone think of the straights? Mateo is explaining that he knows what rock bottom feels like, and if someone hadn't come along and helped him, he would have been sleeping on the streets too. Okay, so he has some kind of tortured past, I guess. I don't get why this seems to be a love triangle between me and Ben and Mateo, because there obviously seems to be more chemistry and more screen time between Ben and Mateo. And I'm kind of butthurt about it, but also they seem to be good together, so I guess I can't really hate that. Dude, Mateo is just revealing a whole bunch of information. I hope that one day I can open up my own restaurant. My dad was Japanese American and Army brat. He met my mother when he was stationed near Pisa in Italy. They both passed when I was a baby. It was my Italian nana who raised me until I was 13. She taught me the most amazing dishes: baked fish fillets, spaghetti aglio e olio, wedding soup, ravioli. I call it Nana's Caras and cook all her recipes. Love that for you, but also I thought this was the Cindy and Ben story. Why are you telling me all of your whole background story and how you grew up in your childhood? Ben wiped some of the steak juice off his chin as they both finished up the shared steak dinner. He realized this was a special moment. Mateo didn't strike him as a person who opened up and spoke about himself often. He was usually laid back and chill, but Ben sensed a loneliness in Mateo. It was a familiarity, perhaps only detectable by those who have also felt unwanted and unloved. I'll make you a baked lasagna someday, Mateo grinned. It will knock your socks off. I got big dreams, Ben. You just wait and see. Why the fuck is this turning into a Ben and Mateo fanfiction? Why am I being the background character to my own fanfiction? Like, I'm happy for them, good for them. I hope that they thrive. But I thought we were gonna see the Cindy show. I thought we were gonna see smut scenes with me. And yet we're seeing more character development in Mateo than my own bland ass. I feel like this is gonna end with me ending up with nobody. Or conversely, we're gonna end up having like a threesome. The next day, the door opened to reveal only half of Cindy's majestic face. What do you want? She asked. Her voice sounded weird. How did you even? Ben shoved at the door, his arms heavy with multiple bags of groceries. Hi, he said excitedly. I'm here to cook for you. He started walking through Cindy's lavish, minimalist, modern home. Searching for the kitchen, he opened one of the doors to reveal an entire closet piled to the ceilings with glasses. The glasses were stylish and hip, each one perfect for expressing your individuality. They appeared expensive. Some even had detachable sunglass frames, but they were actually quite affordable. This fanfic is not sponsored by Glasses USA. Don't, not in there. Cindy quickly closed the door. She was in slouchy sweatpants and a black shirt. It was clear she probably hadn't showered. Is this story supposed to give me a love life? Or is it just supposed to attack me? I can't even hate because it's true. Dally, he flashed a grin at her and then swooped into the kitchen. He made himself at home. She said it's been a long while and it's about damn time you get some action. What does that mean? It's been a damn long time indeed. I know that I joke about these a lot and I make like self-deprecating jokes, and I feel like a lot of people think it's like, oh, you know, she's trying to be quirky and relatable. I'm not. This is my life. I haven't had the touch of a man in many, many, many years. You might think this is a joke, but that is my life. But maybe this fanfiction will change things for me. I don't know. We'll see. Look, I'm out sick tonight. I don't know why, Dad. Ben rushed over to her. You're sick? Are you okay? What's wrong? I just have some head cold. May I pick you up? What? May I pick you up? Oh. Ben swooped her in his arms like she was a feather. He pulled her against his solid chest and took her to the plush couch. He gently laid her into the cushions, putting a blanket on her. You should rest. I will make you dinner. She wanted to argue, but she was tired and he was hot. And damn if she wasn't hungry. This is the most accurate sentence in the entire fanfiction. I'm tired, he's hot, and I'm hungry. Fuck it, let's go with it. Okay, so he's banging all the pots and pans in the kitchen. There's a little bit of smoke. I had to rush over to see what the hell is going on so he doesn't burn down my goddamn house. We have some conversation. Have you had steak? Cindy peered over his shoulder, realizing there was a whole assortment of bubbling goodness on the stove. If she could smell, she'd smell fantastic herbs and butter, but she just felt the heat of the kitchen on her face. Yes, I've had steak too. She eyed him nervously. It was the way he looked at her that gave her butterflies. It was like there was no one on earth he'd rather be with. Then there was clinking of plates, silverware, and glasses. Sooner than later, he was carrying 2 loaded plates over to the table. He ushered her over with one hand. She realized she still had her blanket clutched around her shoulders. Ben sat her down in front of the fantastic feast he had prepared for her, then poured her a glass of wine. She wasn't sure she should really be drinking wine with the cold medicine she had taken earlier, but fuck it. Mixing wine and cold medicine? Am I about to get drunk? Are we about to bang? God, I hope so. I fucking hope so. Give me something. I'm tired of him having chemistry with Mateo. I'm tired of being left out. I want the D already. When their bellies were full and the thirsts were quenched, well, not all their thirsts, because don't forget about that foot-long dick, they retired back to the living room. Cindy turned on a playlist of melodic background music and then cuddled into her couch with her wine glass. I can't remember the last time someone made me dinner. She smiled at Ben over her wine glass. Why are you so nice to me? Ben hesitated and blinked at her. You are kind. You're tough but gentle at the same time. You run your own business, which I admire so much because I know you work hard. You're so incredibly beautiful. You are the most amazing person I have ever met. His tone was soft, almost a whisper. Okay, Edward Cullen, pack it up. Cindy stared at him for a minute. Her face blinked as she tried to register the words, but she was growing drowsy and the words were just so sweet. She finally smiled, scooting over to Ben. Before she realized what she was doing, she snuggled into his chest. She felt his warmth as she pressed her cheek against him. He was so soft, so sweet, and yet so hard because he was swole. Oh, hard as in his muscles. I thought we were going down somewhere else. Before she could even form words to respond, she had fallen asleep against him. He tensed, having absolutely no idea what to do. Finally, he relaxed into the couch and softly petted her hair. He enjoyed this moment. This daydream turned reality. Now he finally knew what home was. Home was her. Then when she started to gently snore, he very carefully lifted her and took her to the bedroom. He nuzzled her into her soft bed and tucked her in. He took one last look at her, savoring the moment before he turned out the lights and shut the door. Wait a minute. So we didn't even bang? What the hell was this all for then? I thought this fanfiction was rated mature. We better bang or else. I don't even know why I'm reading this for. Also, I don't snore, okay? I eat in my sleep. My friends who have slept in the same room as me before have said that apparently I make eating noises in my sleep. Apparently I make noises where I'm like I'm chewing on something. Most likely I would still be chewing on a steak. Preferably chewing on Ben's steak, but obviously we're not getting to that point because Ben is a gentleman. Disgusting. Chapter 5 starts off the next morning. Dali, my Filipino coworker / token minority best friend, notices I'm in a good mood. And then Ben comes in and I'm like, oh my God, Ben, what are you doing here? This paragraph, I just want to note, is super detailed with what he's wearing. He was dashing as usual. His skin was darker tan than usual from his time playing basketball with his friend. It was a hot summer day. He was wearing salmon pink tennis shorts, a bright blue tank top, white slip-on shoes, and Ray-Ban RB3025 aviator sunglasses. The sunglasses appeared expensive. Their teardrop-shaped frames were like sleek obsidian. Once again, not sponsored by Glasses USA. Why is Ben dressed like a douche? Actually, why is he dressed like Gansey from the Raven Boys? In this next part, we are outside of Tequila Mockingbird. We are seeing a couple of the workers like Karen, LB, and Patrick, the couple who owns the bakery shop that I got the donut from. There is also a character named Hadley. She has a twin sister named Bianca. Dude, there's so much description for all of these side characters. Like, are these people relevant? I think Ben tries to bump into a certain lady friend. I've noticed he and Cindy are hanging out an awful lot lately. Karen and Mateo stopped and stared at LB. Cindy? Mateo asked. The girl who works at that ridiculous tattoo shop? Karen sneered in disbelief. Damn, why is Karen such a hater? I'm glad Ben is meeting people, Mateo sighed. It was a mix of frustration for not following the health code, a pang of jealousy, and a stab of betrayal that his friend's secret lady was Cindy. Oh, please. Are you actually jealous of Ben because you like me? Or are you jealous because you like Ben? Yeah, I've read all of those scenes of you cooking together and living together. I really find it hard to believe that you actually like me and you're not actually having it for Ben. The conversation ends with Hadley and Dali and all these other side characters talking. Again, I don't know why we have all these side characters. Why are we reading a fan fiction where there's actually time and care to develop these side characters? I thought we were just gonna read some smutty bullshit. Chapter 6 starts off with Karen very, very pissed off. She's upset that Ben doesn't like her back. Now she's shrieking at him. Oh my God. So she says, I've done everything for you. You came in off the streets, no references, nothing. And what do I get in return? She shrieked at him. You're dating some bitch from a tattoo shop? He took a quick step toward her, suddenly towering over her. His jaw clenched. Darkness fell over his eyes. What did you say about Cindy? He growled at her. Her anger was changing to fear, realizing he was much larger than she was, but she doubled down. Why would you pick some stupid tattoo shop girl over me? Me! You want to know why I don't like you, Karen? Karen? You are selfish and cold. Everyone has to walk on eggshells around you because you fly off the handle. You are cruel to the core. He paused. And that's why you're alone. What are you going to do? Hit me? She spat at him. No, I'm not you, he sneered, shaking his head. Fuck you, Ben. She turned on her heel and ran to her back office, slamming the door. I'll fucking show you how cruel I can be. Ben didn't stick around to see what she had in store. He bolted out the back door. Fuck you too, Karen. She just marched up to the sidewalk. She burst in the tattoo parlor and she's demanding to Dally, is there a Cindy that works here? She slammed the paper on the counter. It was a printout of a poorly drawn poop emoji tattoo. She tattooed this on my 15-year-old son, she lied. I demand to speak to her manager. This is appalling. She poked her finger at the printout. Not only is it terrible, it's also illegal. And now it's infected. No doubt from this filthy tattoo shop. Who knows what sort of awful diseases you can pick up here. Cindy returned with Dally following close behind. They went behind the counter where Cindy confronted Karen. Dally grabbed her iPad and was furiously typing something. I'm Cindy. Can I help you? I wanted to speak to your manager, Karen shouted, just as enraged. You're about to be fired for the hack job you did. This place might even get shut down. I'm the owner of this shop. Can you please explain to me what's going on? Her tone was cool, but her eyes were vipers. Karen sputtered. You own this shop? She said you tattooed her 15-year-old. She has a picture. A guy with piercings in his face pointed out. He was filming on his phone. Cindy's eyes narrowed as she plucked the picture from Karen's grasp. You think one of my artists did this? Cindy laughed. Perhaps your son is mistaken about what tattoo shop he got this at, but this is not the work of any of my artists. I personally trained them, and this is the highest ranked tattoo shop in the state on Yelp and Google reviews. Danny shoved the iPad into Cindy's hands. On the screen was the same tattoo as on Karen's printout. Clearly, she had found it by Googling epic tattoo fails. I think you wanted to start shit with me for some reason, so you Googled some shitty tattoo and came in here trying to make a scene. Realizing what had transpired, the customer started to boo Karen. She didn't have a leg to stand on, and she reeled. Back off! I will call the police, she shouted. Why don't you go back to whatever hole you crawled out of? Cindy dumped the iPad back into Dally's hands as Karen fled the store, trying to escape a torrent of boos and hisses. Wow, Cindy really does not have any fucks to give. She's just like, this store does not welcome any Karens. So the rest of the chapter is Karen crying in hysterics. She looks in the mirror. She looks like a monster.
Maybe I'm the monster!
Well, she was a monster. She showed them all what a monster truly was. Her heart pounded with rage and desire for revenge. And in that mirror reflection, a bright star that fell in the night sky behind her. Ooh. I'm gonna end this video here because we are halfway through the fanfiction. I will follow up in part 2 and we'll find out what happens to me, to Ben, to Mateo, to Karen, to all the other side characters who for some reason have more background story than I do. This video is not sponsored by Glasses USA, but it is sponsored by NordVPN. NordVPN has super fast servers, so there are over 5,500 and more in over 60 countries. You can unlock Netflix and your other favorite entertainment websites. There's no data logging. There's 24/7 customer service support. If you don't like it for whatever reason, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. There's up to 6 simultaneous connections, and there's double data encryption for increased anonymity. If all of that sounds like a good deal to you, you can get 68% off NordVPN using my code ReadWithCindy by going to my link nordvpn.com/readwithcindy. This makes it only $3.71 a month, which is such a good steal, especially if you are reading questionable fanfiction and you don't want your data to be tracked. You can just use NordVPN for that, and boom, you're done. All right, my throat hurts from laughing and reading. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. Thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. Go ahead and unsubscribe from my channel. Goodbye.
I don't need a boyfriend. That shit's full-time employment. I don't got the time for you or anybody else but me. I don't need a boyfriend right now. That shit's full-time employment. Time out. Did you just call me a girl? You feeling lucky? You think you love me? Well, listen, hon.